Emily had always believed that her life would follow a predictable, safe path. She had married young, thinking love would last forever, and for a while, it seemed like everything was perfect. Her husband, David, was charming and funny, the kind of person who could make her laugh even on the hardest days. They had dreams together, simple dreams, a small family, a cozy home, and a life full of quiet happiness. Emily never imagined that one ordinary morning could change everything. It started like any other day. Emily woke up early, expecting David to make breakfast or at least share a warm smile as he left for work. But when she went to the kitchen, she noticed something strange. His side of the bed was empty, and his things were gone. At first, she thought he had left for an early meeting. But the silence in the house was deafening. There was no note, no message, nothing to explain where he had gone. Panic began to creep in. As the hours passed, Emily called his phone repeatedly, each time getting the same voicemail. Her mind raced with every possible explanation, but deep down, she feared the worst. When she finally checked the mail, she found a letter addressed to her. Hands trembling, she opened it, hoping for some kind of reassurance, but instead, the words hit her like a storm. David had left her. Not just for a few days, not for a temporary escape, but forever, or at least, that's how it felt to her. And the worst part was what he left behind. An old, crumbling house on the outskirts of the city, something he called a joke. It wasn't a gift, it wasn't compensation, and it certainly wasn't love. It was an empty shell, a mocking reminder of the life they had shared. Emily stared at the small, tattered key he had left on the kitchen counter, feeling a mix of disbelief and anger. How could the man she had trusted with her entire world abandon her and leave her with something so worthless? The house itself was almost laughable in its decay. Windows were broken, the roof sagged in places, and weeds had claimed the garden as their own. The paint was peeling, the doors creaked ominously, and the air smelled faintly of mold and neglect. Most people would have walked away immediately, but Emily felt something strange. Even though her heart was heavy with betrayal, a small spark of curiosity flickered inside her. There was something about the house that demanded attention, something hidden beneath the dust and broken floorboards. At first, Emily simply wandered through the rooms, running her hands over the rough walls, imagining the life David had taken from her. She remembered the laughter that once echoed in these spaces, the dreams they had shared about decorating each room, about filling it with warmth and life. Now, all of that felt like a cruel joke. Tears streamed down her face as she sat on the cold, dusty floor, clutching the letter. Her mind was a whirlwind of emotions, shock, sadness, anger, and an aching sense of abandonment. Friends and family tried to console her, but Emily felt isolated in a way she had never experienced. The betrayal wasn't just leaving her alone, it was the humiliation of being discarded as if she were nothing, replaced by emptiness. She wondered about David's reasons, replaying every conversation, every argument, every laugh, searching for signs she had missed. The truth, however, was simple and cruel: he had left, and nothing she could say or do would change that. Despite the pain, Emily refused to let despair completely take over. There was a resilience in her that even betrayal could not destroy. She realized that the old house, as much as it symbolized her heartbreak, was also an opportunity. For the first time in years, she had a life entirely her own. No expectations, no controlling decisions, just her and the world outside. The house might have been left as a joke, but to Emily, it became a challenge, a test of courage, a place where she could prove that she could rise above the betrayal. That night, as she sat in the darkness of her abandoned home, Emily made a quiet promise to herself. She would not let this end her life or define her. She would face the emptiness, the decay, and the isolation, and somehow, she would find a way to turn it into something meaningful. The betrayal had shattered her world, but in the ruins, a tiny seed of hope had been planted. It was fragile, but it was there, waiting for her to nurture it. In the silence of that first night, Emily felt a strange mix of sorrow and determination. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, filled with moments of doubt and fear, but she also understood something vital. The house, abandoned as it was a doorway to a new chapter. And although she did not yet know what lay within its walls, Emily sensed that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. Emily woke up the next morning with a strange mixture of dread and curiosity. The house was silent, but it no longer felt like just an abandoned, empty building. It seemed to hum with secrets, as if it had been waiting for someone to finally notice it, someone to explore its corners, open its locked drawers, and uncover the stories hidden beneath layers of dust and neglect. She hesitated at the front door, key in hand, staring at the faded paint and broken steps. For a moment, the thought of running away, leaving everything behind, felt tempting. But something inside her whispered that there was more to this house than just its decay. Maybe this was exactly where she was meant to be, not by chance, but by fate. The first room she entered was the living area, cold and empty, but Emily could see traces of its past life: a cracked fireplace, a rug worn thin by footsteps long gone, and shelves lined with books that seemed to sag under their own age. As she ran her fingers over the spines, a chill went down her spine. Some of the books had notes tucked inside, scribbled in a hurried hand. Emily's heart raced. Who had written them? What stories had been hidden here, waiting for her discovery? She moved from room to room, each one telling its own silent story. The kitchen was dark, but the smell of old spices lingered faintly. As she opened cupboards, she found small jars with faded labels, a recipe book with pages yellowed and fragile. Emily could almost imagine the people who had cooked here, laughed here, and lived lives full of ordinary moments, and yet extraordinary in their own way. In the hallway, Emily noticed a narrow staircase leading to the attic. It was almost hidden behind a sagging door, covered in cobwebs. The steps creaked under her weight, but instead of fear, Emily felt excitement, anticipation, as if she were about to step into another world. When she reached the top, she saw the dusty floor littered with old furniture covered in sheets. There was an old trunk in the corner, locked tight and uninviting, but Emily's curiosity refused to let her walk away. She searched the attic carefully, brushing aside layers of dust and cobwebs, until finally, she found a small, delicate key tucked inside a hollowed-out book. Her hands trembled as she approached the trunk, and when she turned the key in the lock, it clicked with surprising ease. The lid lifted slowly, revealing its contents: letters tied with ribbons, diaries with pages filled with neat handwriting, photographs of people she had never met, yet somehow felt connected to. As she sifted through the items, Emily realized that these were not just old belongings. They were stories, lives that had once filled the house with laughter, sorrow, secrets, and dreams. Some letters spoke of love and loss, some diaries detailed daily struggles and small joys, and the photographs captured moments frozen in time, smiling faces looking back at her as if urging her to understand, to learn, to carry their memories forward. The attic seemed to shift around her. What had once felt empty and lifeless was now full of energy, full of voices from the past whispering to her, urging her to keep exploring, to keep discovering. Emily felt a thrill she hadn't felt in years, a spark of purpose that made the betrayal she had suffered fade, just a little, into the background. She was no longer just a woman abandoned by her husband. She was an explorer, a storyteller, someone who could breathe life into forgotten history. Hours passed without Emily noticing, and when she finally stepped outside, the sun was beginning to set, casting golden light over the overgrown garden. She looked at the house with new eyes, seeing not just broken walls and peeling paint, but potential, mystery, and possibility. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, this abandoned home could become a sanctuary, a place of transformation, a place where her new life could begin. That night, Emily sat by the small fireplace, letters spread around her, heart racing with the possibilities of what lay ahead. The house that had seemed like a cruel joke was starting to feel like a hidden treasure, one that only she could unlock. And as the wind whispered through broken windows, Emily made another promise to herself: she would uncover every secret, face every challenge, and let this house, abandoned by others but found by her, shape the next chapter of her life. Emily woke the next morning with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in months. The old house no longer felt like a burden or a cruel joke. It felt like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Each creaking floorboard, each shadowy corner, seemed to whisper secrets, and Emily knew she had to listen. She started her day with a careful exploration, determined to uncover anything unusual or hidden in the rooms she had only glanced at before. She returned to the attic first, drawn by the memory of the trunk and the letters she had discovered. As she sifted through the pile of old photographs, she noticed one photograph that seemed out of place. Unlike the others, it was recent, the edges sharp and clean, not yellowed with age. It was a picture of the house. But something inside the window caught her attention, something that didn't belong. Something almost hidden if you didn't look closely. Her curiosity piqued. Emily moved to examine every corner of the attic more carefully. That's when she noticed the faint outline of a small door behind a stack of old boxes. It was almost invisible, blending perfectly with the wall, as if it didn't want to be found. Her heart pounded in her chest as she knelt to open it. The door creaked, revealing a narrow hidden compartment filled with small envelopes, some tied with ribbon, others sealed with wax. Emily's hands shook as she picked up the first envelope, breaking the seal carefully. Inside was a letter, the ink faded but still legible. It spoke of a secret kept for generations, something valuable hidden within the house itself. She felt a thrill run through her. The old house, which had seemed so empty and lifeless, was now alive with mystery, with hidden stories and treasures waiting to be discovered. As the day passed, Emily worked methodically through the house, opening drawers, lifting floorboards, and examining furniture for anything unusual. In one of the kitchen drawers, she found a bundle of old keys. Each key was labeled with strange symbols. Unlike any she had seen before, the labels hinted at rooms and storage spaces that might not even exist anymore, but Emily's determination pushed her forward. She could feel that every discovery was a clue, a piece of a larger puzzle that would reveal the house's secrets. In the study, she discovered more letters hidden behind the books on the shelves. Each letter told a story, not just of the house, but of the people who had lived there long before her. There were tales of love, betrayal, fortune, and loss. Each note seemed to speak directly to her, as if the previous residents knew she would find them one day. Emily felt a strange connection, a sense that she was part of something much larger than her own pain and heartbreak. By evening, Emily's room was covered with papers, photographs, and old trinkets. Each discovery added to her growing sense of wonder. Each clue made her heart beat faster with anticipation. But it wasn't just curiosity that drove her. It was a feeling that her life, abandoned and broken as it had seemed, was about to change. The house had become a doorway into a new reality, one filled with hidden treasures and untold stories. As she sat by the window, sorting through the letters and keys, Emily realized that the house was teaching her something important, that even in the darkest moments, when life seemed cruel and unfair, there was always the possibility of discovery, of hope, of transformation. She thought of the betrayal she had endured and how David had left her with nothing, and yet, here she was, uncovering secrets that could change her future entirely. The night fell, and the house grew quiet, but Emily felt more alive than ever. She had uncovered her first real clues, and the mysteries of the old home had only just begun. Somewhere in the walls, floors, and hidden compartments, she sensed, there were answers waiting for her, treasures and stories that would not only solve the house's secrets but also redefine her own life. And in that moment, Emily understood something essential. She was no longer a victim of abandonment. She was an explorer, a seeker, someone who had the courage to face the unknown and uncover the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary. The house, abandoned and forgotten, had become her world of possibilities, a world she was only beginning to understand. Days passed, but Emily's fascination with the old house only grew stronger. She had explored every visible corner, uncovered letters, photographs, and hidden envelopes, yet something deep inside told her that the house was holding back its most important secrets. That feeling led her back to the attic, the place where her discoveries had begun. She climbed the narrow stairs slowly, her heart pounding with anticipation. This time, her eyes were drawn to the far corner of the attic, a space she had barely noticed before. Behind a pile of broken furniture and dust-covered boxes, there was a small, oddly shaped door. Unlike the compartment she had opened before, this one looked sturdier, older, and almost regal in its design. A brass keyhole glinted in the dim light, and for a moment, Emily felt a chill run through her. Something inside her whispered that what lay beyond this door could change everything. She searched the attic for a key, examining the old books and drawers once again. Then, tucked between the pages of a diary she had not opened, she found it, a small, delicate key, engraved with the same strange symbols as the keys she had discovered earlier. Hands trembling, she approached the door. inserted the key, and turned it slowly. The lock clicked, and a deep, musty smell rose from within as she pushed the door open. The room inside was small but astonishing. It was almost untouched by time. The walls were lined with shelves filled with dusty jars, old books, and mysterious boxes. In the center, a large chest rested on the floor, locked with an iron clasp. Emily's breath caught in her throat. This was no ordinary attic storage. It was a hidden treasure trove, a secret room deliberately concealed from the world. Emily began examining the shelves, pulling out items one by one. Each object told a story, some of love and hope, others of loss and secrecy. Among the books, she found journals detailing the lives of people who had lived in the house decades ago. Their handwriting was careful, deliberate, as if they wanted their stories to survive time itself. She realized these were more than memories. They were lessons, secrets, and perhaps clues to something even greater. The chest in the center drew her attention most of all. She knelt beside it, running her fingers over the cold iron, and lifted the lid carefully. Inside were documents, maps, and old papers that seemed valuable, not just historically, but personally. Some were legal documents, property deeds, and letters that hinted at a fortune hidden somewhere in the house. Emily's heart raced as she realized that what David had abandoned her with might be far more significant than she had imagined. As she explored the hidden room, Emily discovered a strange sense of connection. The house was no longer just a building, it was alive with the stories of the people who had poured their lives into it. She could almost hear whispers, quiet voices urging her to uncover the truth, guiding her toward the discoveries that would not only reveal the house's history but could also shape her own future. By the time evening came, Emily felt a mixture of awe and excitement. She had stumbled upon the heart of the house's mystery, a secret deliberately hidden, meant to be discovered only by someone who truly cared to look. She sat on the dusty floor, surrounded by papers, letters, and artifacts, thinking about the journey ahead. There was so much more to explore, so many clues to follow, and she knew that the house had more life-changing surprises in store for her. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the hidden room, Emily made another quiet promise to herself. She would uncover every secret, piece together every story, and follow every clue. The betrayal she had suffered seemed distant now, insignificant compared to the adventure that awaited. For the first time in months, she felt hope, a spark of excitement, and the thrill of possibility. The house, abandoned and forgotten, had become a gateway to a life she could never have imagined. Emily finally stepped out of the hidden room, locking it carefully behind her. She looked at the house differently now, with reverence and curiosity. The mysteries it held were vast, and she had only just begun. Somewhere within its walls, she felt, lay discoveries that could change her destiny forever. Emily had spent countless hours exploring the old house, uncovering letters, journals, and hidden compartments, yet the deeper she dug, the more questions she had. Some secrets seemed too complex for her to understand alone. She realized that the house was a puzzle much bigger than she had imagined, and perhaps, to uncover its full story, she would need help. She started cautiously, reaching out to a local historian she had once read about in a small article. His name was Mr. Thompson, a quiet man with a reputation for uncovering forgotten histories and solving mysterious cases. At first, he was skeptical when Emily explained her discoveries, but as she showed him the letters, the journals, and the strange keys, his eyes widened with intrigue. He agreed to help her piece together the story hidden within the walls of the house. Emily also reached out to some neighbors who had lived in the area for decades. They remembered bits and pieces about the house, stories passed down from previous generations, rumors of hidden rooms, and even whispers about a fortune once kept in the house. Together, they started connecting the dots, turning individual clues into a bigger picture. Emily felt a sense of relief and excitement, knowing she was not alone in this quest. With Mr. Thompson's guidance, Emily began deciphering the old letters and journals. Some contained codes, dates, and symbols that seemed meaningless at first, but slowly, patterns emerged. Each letter, each note, became a piece of a larger puzzle, pointing towards secrets long forgotten. Some of the neighbors recalled seeing unusual deliveries, strange visitors, and locked rooms that were never opened, confirming the hints she had found herself. Emily discovered that the house had once belonged to a wealthy family who had vanished under mysterious circumstances decades ago. Their belongings, carefully hidden, included documents, antique jewelry, and other items of significant value. Mr. Thompson explained that the family had faced betrayal and tragedy, much like Emily herself, and perhaps the house had been waiting for someone to rediscover its legacy. Working together, Emily and her new allies explored areas she had not yet touched, including a small cellar beneath the house. She found old crates, dusty ledgers, and even a sealed tin box containing letters written in code. With the historian's knowledge, they were able to decipher the writings, revealing a story of hidden treasures, secret alliances, and even lost property deeds that could secure a future for someone worthy. As the days passed, Emily realized something important. This journey was no longer just about solving a mystery. It was about connection, about trust, and about learning to rely on others after she had been abandoned. The neighbors shared stories of their own hardships and triumphs, forming a bond that Emily had not expected. She was no longer alone in her struggle. She had allies, companions who helped her navigate the unknown. The house, which had seemed cold and lifeless when she first entered, now felt alive with possibility. Each corner held potential, each object a clue, and each person she met became a guide in uncovering the house's past. Emily began to see that her life, abandoned by her husband, had gained new meaning. She was no longer just a victim of betrayal, she was a seeker, a detective, and part of a team dedicated to revealing the truth. By the time the sun set, Emily was exhausted but exhilarated. The hidden rooms, the letters, and the artifacts had opened doors she had never imagined. She looked around the house with renewed admiration and determination, knowing that with the help of her unexpected allies, she could finally unlock the full story hidden in these walls. The house, once a symbol of abandonment, had become a place of discovery, hope, and community. And as Emily lay in bed that night, she felt a quiet sense of gratitude. The betrayal that had once defined her now seemed distant, replaced by curiosity, courage, and the support of those who believed in her. The journey ahead would be long, but she no longer had to face it alone. The house had given her secrets, challenges, and treasures, but most importantly, it had led her to people who would help her change her life forever. Emily had spent weeks uncovering the secrets of the old house, each discovery more thrilling than the last, but nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to find. One afternoon, while sorting through a pile of letters and documents in the hidden room, she noticed a thick envelope, its edges worn but carefully preserved. The handwriting on the outside was elegant and deliberate, almost commanding attention. With trembling hands, Emily opened it, and her eyes widened as she read the contents. Inside were papers that detailed legal ownership of the house, long-forgotten deeds, and instructions for recovering valuable assets that had been hidden or mismanaged decades ago. It seemed that the family who had once lived there had anticipated a future discovery, leaving clues to ensure that the treasures of their life would eventually find someone worthy. Among the papers were letters addressed to the future, written as if the original owners knew that someone like Emily would one day unlock their secrets. They spoke of hopes, dreams, and warnings about trust, betrayal, and perseverance. Emily felt a strange connection to these people she had never met. Their words resonated deeply with her own experiences of abandonment, pain, and resilience. She realized that the house had chosen her for a reason, and that this revelation was more than financial. It was personal, spiritual, and life-changing. Her heart raced as she discovered maps tucked inside the envelope, maps that detailed hidden compartments and safes throughout the house. Some were cleverly concealed behind walls, others beneath floorboards or under loose tiles. Emily could hardly believe her eyes. The house was not just a structure, it was a treasure chest, each secret a piece of history waiting to be reclaimed. With the help of Mr. Thompson, she began carefully following the instructions, opening hidden doors, unlocking compartments, and piecing together the puzzle. Each discovery brought a rush of excitement and wonder, and yet it was more than just the thrill of treasure. It was the feeling of empowerment, of reclaiming something that had been lost or forgotten, of turning her own misfortune into an opportunity. One of the most astonishing finds was a sealed box hidden beneath the attic floorboards. Inside were antique jewelry, rare coins, and old letters that revealed the house's complete history. There were documents that could ensure Emily's financial independence, proof of ownership, and even a portion of a fortune that had been hidden for decades. She could hardly contain her emotion. This was more than she had ever imagined, a true revelation that could change her life forever. As Emily sat in the hidden room surrounded by treasures and documents, she felt a sense of clarity she hadn't felt in years. The betrayal she had endured, the abandonment, and the pain, all of it had led her here. It was as if the universe had guided her to this moment, showing her that sometimes what seems like misfortune is simply the path to something extraordinary. She realized that the house was more than bricks and mortar. It was a teacher, a guardian of secrets, and a guide to her own inner strength. Each discovery was a reminder that courage and persistence could turn despair into opportunity. Emily understood that her life was no longer defined by what her husband had taken from her, but by what she had found, uncovered, and created for herself. By the time evening fell, Emily had sorted through most of the key discoveries, and the house seemed to glow with a quiet energy. The hidden treasures, the letters, and the maps were no longer just objects, they were symbols of her transformation, proof that she could rebuild her life, not just survive, but thrive. She smiled to herself, feeling a sense of triumph and hope that had been absent for so long. For the first time since David had abandoned her, Emily felt truly free. She had uncovered the house's secrets, reclaimed its hidden treasures, and most importantly, discovered her own strength. The revelations of the day were not just about wealth, they were about empowerment, resilience, and the knowledge that even in the darkest moments, life had the power to surprise and transform. Emily woke up the next morning with a sense of purpose stronger than ever before. The house, once a symbol of betrayal and abandonment, now pulsed with possibility. Every room she had explored, every secret she had uncovered, was a step toward a new beginning. She knew that it was time to transform not just the house, but her own life. She began with the garden, which had long been overgrown with weeds and wild plants. Emily spent hours clearing brush, trimming vines, and planting flowers that brought color and life back to the space. Each movement, each bit of dirt cleared, felt symbolic, a way of reclaiming control over a life that had once seemed out of her hands. As the sun rose higher, she could see the transformation taking shape, not just in the garden, but in herself. Inside the house, Emily focused on cleaning and repairing the rooms that had been neglected for years. She scrubbed floors, dusted shelves, and patched holes in the walls. The old furniture she had found in hidden corners was polished, repaired, and placed carefully in its proper spot. It was as if she was breathing life back into the house, and in doing so, breathing life back into herself. With the help of Mr. Thompson and some of the neighbors, Emily restored the hidden rooms and organized the treasures she had discovered. Every document, letter, and artifact was catalogued, each finding placed in a story that connected the past with her present. The house no longer felt abandoned, it felt like a living memory, a place where history and hope could coexist. As she worked, Emily began to notice subtle changes in herself, too. The fear and sadness that had once weighed heavily on her heart were replaced by confidence and determination. She laughed more freely, thought more clearly, and embraced the excitement of each new discovery. The betrayal that had once defined her life seemed smaller now, diminished by the sense of purpose that now filled her days. She also began inviting neighbors and friends to visit the house, sharing its hidden stories and treasures. People were fascinated by the history she had uncovered, and Emily felt proud, not just of what she had found, but of how she had transformed the house into a place of connection and community. The walls that had once been silent now echoed with laughter, conversation, and curiosity. As the months passed, the house evolved into a home, a place of beauty, history, and life. Emily added her own touches, paintings, decorations, and personal items, blending the past with her present. Each room told a story, not just of the people who had lived there before, but of her journey from betrayal to empowerment, from abandoned and hurt to strong and independent. Emily realized that the true transformation was not just about the house, it was about her. The house had been a catalyst, a teacher, and a mirror, showing her what she was capable of. The hidden treasures had provided opportunity, but it was her courage, resilience, and determination that had created the real change. She had turned a symbol of loss into a symbol of hope, a home filled with purpose and promise. By the time evening fell, Emily stood in the living room, looking around at what she had accomplished. The house was no longer a place of sorrow, it was a sanctuary, a testament to her strength and perseverance. She smiled, feeling a quiet sense of pride, knowing that she had not only transformed the house, but herself. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she felt in control of her destiny, ready to embrace whatever life had in store. For Emily, the abandoned house that had once been a cruel joke had become a home filled with life, beauty, and possibility. it had taken heartbreak and betrayal, but she had turned it into a place of growth, empowerment, and new beginnings, and as she closed the door behind her that night, she knew one thing for certain: her life would never be the same again. Emily woke up that morning with a quiet sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. The house, once a place of abandonment and despair, had become a symbol of hope, a reflection of her strength. Every corner she had restored, every secret she had uncovered, had shaped not just her home, but her heart. She walked through the garden she had nurtured, sunlight filtering through the trees, feeling the life around her pulse with possibility. The past no longer haunted her. She thought of her husband, the betrayal, and the cruel joke that had once left her feeling worthless, but now, those memories were distant, softened by the knowledge that what had been meant to hurt her had instead given her a chance to discover herself, to grow, and to rebuild her life in ways she had never imagined. Neighbors often stopped by, drawn by the stories she shared about the hidden rooms, the letters, and the treasures. Children laughed as they explored the garden, elders marveled at the restoration, and curious visitors asked questions about the house's history. Emily shared her journey openly, not for attention, but to inspire others, to show that even in despair, new beginnings were possible. She realized that the house had given her more than treasures, it had given her a purpose, a way to connect with others, and a story that mattered. Inside the house, Emily created a small study where she could keep the letters, journals, and documents she had uncovered. Each item was carefully preserved, catalogued, and displayed as a reminder of the past. It was more than history, it was a legacy, one she had been entrusted to protect. She often sat there, reading the letters and imagining the lives of the people who had left them behind, feeling their presence as though they were guiding her toward the future. Financially, Emily's discoveries had changed her life, but the true value was far beyond money. The house had given her confidence, resilience, and the knowledge that she could face anything. She began taking steps to secure her independence fully, investing wisely, and planning for a future that she controlled entirely. Each decision, each small victory, reinforced her sense of empowerment. Emily also found joy in the simple things, the things she had missed while consumed by betrayal and grief: cooking meals in the restored kitchen, planting flowers, and reading letters in the quiet study. These moments reminded her of the beauty of life and the importance of nurturing it. She felt grounded, connected to both the past and the present, and ready for whatever came next. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in shades of gold and pink, Emily stood on the porch and looked out at the home she had transformed. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a sense of calm and accomplishment. She smiled to herself, realizing that she was no longer defined by abandonment or loss, but by courage, determination, and the ability to turn misfortune into opportunity. Emily had changed, but so had her perspective on life. She understood now that even in the darkest moments, there could be light. Even in betrayal, there could be a path to growth. The house had been the instrument of her transformation, but she had been the one to seize it, breathe life into it, and let it shape her destiny. Her journey had started with heartbreak, but it had ended with hope, strength, and fulfillment. Emily's life was now rich in ways that went beyond material treasures. It was rich in experience, resilience, and meaning. The house, once a cruel joke, had become a sanctuary, a place of renewal, and a testament to the power of perseverance. As night fell and Emily turned off the lights, she felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for the discoveries, not just for the house, but for herself. She had faced abandonment, explored hidden mysteries, and transformed her life completely. And in that moment, Emily knew that her story, born from betrayal and secrecy, had become a story of triumph, empowerment, and a new life filled with endless possibilities.